let's welcome in Matt Barrows of The Athletic. He covers the San Francisco 49ers. And, Matt, I just got to ask you where you guys were on day 2 on Friday when the 49ers made their selection of Deshaun Stribling. Like, what was the reaction in the media room?
Well, so we're all at our different cubicles, and we're hitting refresh on Twitter a million times because we want to, know the name as fast as we can. And some of us do more research, perhaps than others. So the name Deshaun Stribling did not shock me. I had seen it before. I had included him in some things that I wrote about, guys that might be attractive to the 49ers. But having said that, this isn't a, Matt Barrows' great statement. It was, I thought that he could be, a late day 2 or day 3 type of pick for them. So it was a surprise when, lo and behold, he's picked at pick number 33. The more I've kind of looked at him since then and asked other people about him, I totally get it. And it doesn't seem like such a shocking pick at this point. Obviously, we're going to have to wait a couple of years on this, but to me, it's a lot like the Ricky Pearsall pick from 2 years ago, and it's a lot like the Dante Pettis pick from 2018. Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers, have their own way of looking at these wide receivers. They know what they like, or they think that they know what they like, and they're not afraid to go against consensus to pick the guys that they fall in love with.
Always a pleasure, Matt. I agree with you. I come in and I told my partner the same thing, and I'm like, since 2019, who's won more, than the Niners? Not a lot of teams, right? And they built something, and I get it. I was shocked at the Stribling pick. But, Matt, social media has popped off now. It's everything. What would you just say to Niner fans that, I feel like the volume's real loud, more louder in different years about not being satisfied about a draft where we haven't saw one of these 8 players, play a snap? What would you tell fans to do?
Well, you're right. I mean, the first 3 picks, it was one sort of surprise after another. I guess the Romello Height pick later in the second round wasn't so much of a shock. He visited the team. Edge rusher that, we talked about quite a bit in the run-up. But the Kalen Black one was, if you're already reeling from the Deshaun Stribling pick and you get Kalen Black, another third-round running back, I thought that was a 1-2 combination that just had social media just kind of in a daze there for a little while. I thought that the 49ers brought it back a little bit on day 3. But, as far as those first 3 picks, Stribling really checks a lot of boxes for what the 49ers like. He plays on the outside. He's a sturdy guy. He's been durable. He's fast. He likes to block. These are all things that if you don't have those qualities, it takes the guy a long time to get on the field. And that's been a critique of Kyle Shanahan. He drafts these wide receivers, and they have a hard time satisfying him to the point where they're actually in the lineup. I don't anticipate that with Stribling. Now, it could happen, absolutely. There are a couple of veterans now on this team that are probably ahead of him on the depth chart. But I don't know. He just seems like a guy who is going to be a fast starter and who's going to do the smaller things that allow him to be on the field so that, he can make catches and he can be in a part of that offense, which isn't always the case for a rookie wide receiver.
So we're joined by Matt Barrows, covers the 49ers for The Athletic. When you say fast starter, can I take it you mean that he could maybe play right away, or at least early in the season? And then secondly, are there any similarities between Stribling and a Deebo Samuel, for example?
Yeah, I mean, there's a yak similarity between those two.
Okay.
But to me, the yak is coming in a different way. I mean, Deebo Samuel is just a bowling ball.
Yep.
He's knocking pins down to get extra yards. This guy was really good at catching a pass, pivoting, and then accelerating. I thought that he was really good at catching passes in stride and then using that speed to kind of get ahead of the defense. So I don't think that they're quite the same in physicality. But, Stribling is a good blocker. I mean, he does the sort of gritty things. He does Juwan Jennings-like things. And he's not a Juwan Jennings body type either. I'm trying to think of, I guess Aiyuk would be the closest wide receiver with which we're familiar as far as how he looks on the field, how he runs routes, those types of things. But the physicality, which Aiyuk, to his credit, learned how to do. He was not a great blocker right out of the gate, but it's something that he learned how to be. I think that's already there with Stribling.
Matt, I've talked to a couple 49er fans in regard to D. Winters. I'm not telling you he was Ray Lewis by any stretch, but, he was out there and made some plays. And when they traded him to Dallas, I was a bit shocked. I didn't want Greenlaw gone. He left, came back, but I thought he would be your Geico, some insurance. And I know they drafted Jaden Duggar at the linebacker position, but I'm thinking, does Nick Martin, this trade signal that the Niners can count on last year's pick at linebacker, Nick Martin, to see the field? Because as you know, Matt, he was almost invisible this year.
Yeah, he suffered a concussion on November 30, and by mid-January, he was still in the concussion protocol, which to me is a giant, question mark. And so I asked, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan about that, and they said that they're counting on him. He's at the off-season program. Everything is fine right now with his head. I think that he was just about to make his mark last year when he got that concussion. He certainly would have had opportunities given the injuries that they had later in that season. But he's somebody that all season long, in practice at least, was very, very prominent. Really was fast, and we're talking about hitting the sleds and going through drills. So it's not real football, but he was prominent in those areas. So I do think that they feel good about him. The concussion thing, though, is sort of looming. What happens if he gets another one? What happens if he gets a big hit on the head? So we don't really know the answer to that. Drake Greenlaw is there. He's only signed for one season. He's got a big kind of injury background. So it is a bit of a question mark. John Lynch was saying that the Cowboys were very persistent in their pursuit of D. Winters. I think when the 49ers welcomed back Drake Greenlaw, the Cowboys said, "Oh, Drake Greenlaw is back. That probably means that they don't really have a spot for D. Winters. Let's see if we can do a trade." And that's exactly what happened.
Matt Barrows joining us on 95.7 The Game. He covers the San Francisco 49ers for The Athletic. A couple guys that I had, kind of penciled in around the Niners for when they picked were a couple offensive linemen, Lomu, who got picked at 28, Bisantis. And then the other guy I want to ask you about is Falk, Keldrick Falk. These are three guys that kind of went around 27 to 30. I mean, we know the Niners haven't picked a lot of offensive tackles in the first round, maybe just one since Shanahan and Lynch got here. But is it just a case of the 49ers didn't feel like they were second round first pick value with any of those three guys?
Yeah, I think so. I think with Falk, I think he is a facsimile of Mykel Williams, very similar players, and they figured, okay, we've got Mykel Williams. Falk isn't really going to help us that much, and so they were looking more for a speedy edge player, which is what Romello Height is. I mean, Romello Height and Falk play the same position, but they're totally opposite players. One's very large. The one is under 240 pounds. And as far as Lomu, I just feel like the 49ers never think that the difference between a Caleb Lomu and Enrique Cruz, the tackle that they picked up in the 5th round, is dramatic enough for them to go ahead and use that first-round pick on the Lomu player.
Yeah.
I think that they think that both need a lot of development, and if that's the case, then let's go with a 5th rounder, and we'll get somebody that can, like a Stribling, that can help us more immediately. So that's their philosophy. I mean, you can argue a lot, and I think it's a good argument to have about whether that philosophy is a good one or not. But I think that this draft, as much as any in recent years, really kind of exemplified the 49ers thinking about the draft. This is what they do. They don't take offensive linemen early.
Right.
They do take wide receivers and edge rushers early. They like to take tackles and then convert them to guards and centers, and that's probably what they're going to do with Carver Willis, a 4th-round pick. And they took a shot with Duggar. He is a 5th-round pick. I think that should make everybody very excited if you're a 49ers fan, because that's the round where they hit the ball out of the park. That's the Drake Greenlaw round. That's the George Kittle round. That's the Diamador Lenore round. It's a long list of guys that they've hit on. So Duggar and Cruz are their 5th-rounders this year, and both seem to have pretty good upsides.
Matt, let me ask you this. All the dust has settled. What letter grade would you give the Niners for the 2026 draft?
Yeah, I'm no good with that. I always go with a B because I have no idea. To me, it's like getting hot and bothered over looking at the weather forecast for May 18. Like, you don't really know what it's going to be like on May 18. This is just guesswork at this point. So I'm not going to throw a fit if I see clouds or rain on May 18, because you know what? I know it's going to change like 18 times between now and May 18.
Yeah, 49ers only have to go back and look at the Trey Lance draft to know that anything can happen. Hey, Matt, thank you so much for joining us. As always, great info, and look forward to talking to you more this summer.
Okay, sounds good, guys. Talk to you.